no sui il toto ado chate ode. Taisa no aki shike da no feniki atahis ago ado to dashino kegi do ako toke trini do dashike da dishe but ako di kodo do wuji be ko and then ko yedo shi kodo ya tahwil Navajo health system waje ya eko ashibi ko hahot zoja aje denekin lahaki aje zel bar khadet ekodoshi ni kako ya eko hodi satole akko go etish shetselen lon gebe ke ba hot zande ni na tat elon ke khadit ado in the ya the Nahat Khadi Association with Yehgido Ajdo Yaikun Hasan Ako Equado Yashibahu Ato Ado Nagay Sahin Nepal the Arado the Nebeti the Beta Olka the Do Baal Khan no the Quishina the Ku Yaibas for Jason Leku Akot Ela Ko here should select where the Yashik now it is Doshi Dole.
Okay, Goshe, hey. Yat shik Notlenigi adet Eisenach Ankishi. Nihi not better Eisenach Anki. Yat ako Nicheta out is silche. Yadon Nishlenigi be. She Totuk Onje din Nishle. Aro Totsoni, Bashishin, Tatnes Zahnish Che, Dan Lido, Sanjikin Dashinala. Le da Bekba Hotzando, the house ado low mountain holye, ado hostodi tro, ado tropaha otlen holye, ade shit is chido ade shi yaho, ashomado shije, shinesanko, ade chini yako, could look ajika de ya tro clean the back esata, ade ya hotzo, quagga. Billahu adona nan shit no ash short ajot ina shako no what you ever last is about show akonde yat di kwage ato kitli to di could hold just ako Navajo Astronomy was topic go it's a real long story Johanne at hot ago you could just walk outside, have a real long flashlight, and stand in the dark with no light pollution at night. And then you can look up in the sky, winter night sky. You can stand there and you can count those stars. Winter, the northern hemisphere. And 4 stars out of 7 out of 13 stars, constellation stars. They're up there and they don't move. They are in one place. Spring, summer, fall, and winter. A planetarium. They're going around different places. There's movement in there. These stars, constellation, you get it there in one place. That's what we're going to talk about. And without going outside and standing in the dark and looking outside. So that will be another time. And so we the Navajo need Tlenigi, even past 200 years ago. Navajos, they looked at the night sky for references. The stars don't lie. The sun, the moon don't lie. They are reliable. Ha'ashi seasonal. When the universe is, you're going into that universe, spring, summer, fall, and winter. When you look at the night sky, it will tell you what the condition would be, how the weather is going to be. Is it going to rain or is it going to be cold? All of that. Better husband la. Our forefathers done he chant done lean that he doesn't done lean that. They're the ones that shared this information by word of mouth. There was no time to write it down. There was no time to make a book because we live in it. We follow it. It's already there to look at it. So we don't need to put it on paper and write it. It was all abstract learning and also concrete learning, but by word of mouth. And then it's kind of like for that purpose and reason, there were songs that were utilized. They call them today creation songs. And each of these stars, constellation groups, they were identified. 12 months. They all had constellation stars in all of them. And then there was the 13th month in the summer, and then the 13th month in the winter time. So that's how we live by that. The natural order, the natural law. Yichnila. Jodi hahodit hekitite das nahosando yatilkil biyikikwa. This is only but it's ostina larger. Nahasan yehatit hekito yatilkil yehatit heki. The way this almost like just like our body, the universe has two legs. They have clothing on, decorated with constellation stars. They build art in the whole body, the whole heavenly body, the whole constellation. It includes all the constellations and all these whatever is in the night sky. We have that in our, and I will say in our emergent stories, and then in our mythology, history, past, bits and pieces of information. When you ask an elderly, tell me a story, and they will say, over there, they actually drop down and say, at this time in the creation, this happened like that. So there's always a reference point in this time. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on my share screen. So this is my first time using Google, and we'll try it out. Let's see what happens. Well, sometimes these things happen. And let's go to slide from the start, from the beginning. Oops. Let's go back this way. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. And
All right.
screen.
Okay, the story is going to be about Ma'ido Hashishine. The placement of the constellation in the night sky is the title. So, I'll share with you the story about the emergence. Hajinete, at the time of the emergence, after the yellow world, Nehalso, was destroyed, or even before that time, Ate, in the yellow world down there, Ate, Di Depeshe, Ashike. Translation is the Flint Boys. They were playing dice game called Siddish. And when they hit that rock, it made a spark. And these sparks like ignited like flints. When they hit that rock, there was fire coming off those rocks to light up the night sky. And at that time, there was four. Actually, there's only two, but they flow over each other. The one that's coming from the east to the west was laying there. The north and the south river would go over the other river, and they would make a crisscross right there. So, they did that. So today, when you play this tzedich, when you looked at it, there's a rock that's in the center, and later you have 10 rocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It can't eat all the way around, and you hit that rock, and then they give points, 5, 10, or you get another turn. The shinle, your patient is the besh, as she ke, as she settil, yendanella, as she yanata yistilla, naho krako, but as she yendanella, ete. Spiritual intelligence, the yin kotsoho kosiki, allele konsiki, di big echo, these crystal, sagaten diniko at ela, they would be used as igniter to light up another star, light up another fire, to make that fire la akogo. So this took place in the yellow world. And then I'm not going to really talk about the destruction, but what I'm going to go through is, yes, there was a big flood that destroyed everything. The whole world, the yellow world, was destroyed by flood. And only the pure ones, they survived because they knew how to survive. They had their songs and their prayer and their tradition, what they needed to learn to carry on. So they had to struggle, they had to move, and tried to climb high beyond the water level, and they survived into the fourth world. Did they call that Hajine, Ha'aznat, Betat, and Late? When they emerged into the fourth world, there was no light, just very vague. You could see, but there was nothing but water. So it was a dark, scary place. They ended up there. If you can just imagine there, you lost everything. There's no land, it's just water. Everything that you own, the whole world was under the water. So, but they emerged, the first man, the first woman, they came forth, and then they talk about what can happen to move on. And at that time, they thought about the creation. They had a communication, even though they had their differences between the male and the female, gender. Here, they had to put those aside. Yes, there's a conflict here, but we don't need to bother with that. Let's concentrate about going forward. So, the first light was prepared by Hashishinadotso, and the Flint people, Beshe, they got their igniter, and then they hit the other rock, 2 rocks, they hit it to make that spark, and here, that created a fire. They got these firewood from the beaver, and they started that first light, the first fire at the Hajine. So people saw that light, and they came to that light, to that fire. So that was the first light. They had a igniter. And as they all gathered there, they had a conversation about life, survival, how to live, how to survive, what they need to do. Yes, it was political. Yes, they had a plan. Yes, but then they had to come out, and they had to talk about their plan. They debated, yes, but they had a conversation. Yes, they had their differences, but they had a conversation. Everybody was allowed to talk and speak. So from that, the information, what they need to do. At that first conclusion, ayosad taholo ado nabikiyat hi nahat aul ye kwebka hat de shisha nahat eto hat nida. Everybody had their input. It was open. Nas. They went on to completing a description. They had a dialogue. They all agreed that they should make a tache there. They all decided to purify themselves with a male hogan. They would call that a tache, not a sweat lodge. This is a sweat house, tache with Diego. And they used that same igniter to start the fire for the women over there and then for the men on this side. It wasn't together. They separated themselves. All the men go over here, all the female go over there. They lighted their own fire. And when they put in these hot rocks into the touch where it was dark inside there, in there they had a discussion about, they realized that there is a state of urgency. And they talked about the creation would be planned. There would be a structure. For example, they all agreed that there should be a sun, there should be a moon creation. They all agreed that there's going to be vegetation. They all agreed that we needed to do and have something to survive. The women had their strategy, they had their dialogue over there, and they got together. The men too also. But in that state of shock, they thought about recovery. How do we heal ourselves? How do we reconstruct ourselves? So the holy people all agreed at the time that the creation and the laws should be universal and be strict to prevent something, destruction would not happen again, would not occur again. So all of these things went into an idea and the conversation, and they talked this creation, and they said, we'll fix everything, we will reconstruct everything. So when you really think about this time, you can just imagine that even this earth, Nahasan, was all torn apart, destroyed. Even the universe was not a complete whole. They're all different places. So we need to put them back together, reconnect everything, reconstruct everything, rebuild everything to make it a complete whole, universal, interdependent, and interrelated. There should be a model that's like usable. So this male and female gender could communicate, and a salah would be placed there so that it could function. The destruction of the yellow world, the flood, had a big impact. They lost everything. So the reconstruction, the rebuilding shall be made to be in balance, equal consideration for all, every living creation, all life form, consideration for all of them. So every species, every plant, every insect, and every bird, every animal would live there to share. The next one, after the touch, they move again. Finally, they said, let's build a female hogan. Yahowan ba atiki howana maze be constructed by first man and first woman. And they would occupy this place. It would be their home. And they put all things to create the earth. And these songs were utilized. So after they completed that Hogan, the female Hogan, that Sati, they called it the main frame structure, the earth woman, Nahasan, Zil Isan, To Asan, Nata Asan, will all come together to make that four main Sati, Selini. They built that fire. The one that's coming from the male Tache, from the female side, and then from the woman, men's side. Remember, the female Hogan is one Hogan, but the male Hogan is the Tache that the women use and the men use. But the fire is different. Because the female had their own fire and the men had their own fire. So they took that fire and brought it into this female Hogan. Cotton days right in the center of that Hogan to build that fire. Yes, it did not burn. So even right there, there was commotion. Again, finally, it was decided that there should be a fire poker. Significant, important within that home, female Hogan, where the mother and the father to maintain that fire, to come together, to collaborate, to compromise. So, that's how we have our Hogan today. So, creation myth, creation mythology, based on life experiences. These bits and pieces of information are very, very important to our roots and foundation. And then there was a dialogue, communication finally between the male and the female. So they sat down and the creation of the Nahasanto Yatilkil, they came together. So sin, even citizen, to make complete. Okay, what a lot of times people they say, like they say, Sa'ahnare bikahojon nishli dodlit. They say that. We say that. That means you're going to be complete whole. That means you're going to clear your mind. If you have bad habits, get rid of it. Sa'ahnare bikahojon, there's no trouble. There's no interference. There's no bad habits, bad language. That's the wellness part of it. I'm completely okay now. So de nahasan hataahlii sa'ahnare aliyah. Di yatilkilto, the sky, universe was all fixed, clear, plain, pure. There's no glitch in the natural law. Hataahlii. Put it back together like that. This part was over here, bring that part and put it back over here to make it complete. When you say I want to live a good life, you know, you're running, exercising, you're holding a Coca-Cola in one hand and a donut in one hand. It doesn't mean like that. Basically, to reconstruct, there should be communication here, equal. It's been a long journey to arrive. So now they can come face to face and look at each other to have a communication, to fix everything. So instead of saying, I want this my way, we or I, but they came together and said, we have to compromise. We have to make everything all equal and balanced, and we have to agree on that. No. They built that fire, they made that hogan, built that fire, and they came back together. And all the necessity, the essential need, what was going to be used at the creation, were all brought right there in that hogan. The first man, the first woman had to control the holy people, the spirit of the earth, sky, mountain, earth, day, night. We're all going to be come together now. At the time, yes, some spoke with anger, soft tone. Some were professional, like in different areas. Jyotis, the holy people. They had real special skill. They had knowledge. They came together. And they had constructive criticism. They all had their input. So they came together and they started the creation. Jonila. So dite nahasan Hataahlii. Ato eya ekuche. Yes, to explain every bit of the earth, body, the heart, bejay, die betsash ajet die ya bejel zoli it ad eneti nahasan yehadet egi nan sepe clothing, the way it was laid down as a female being. Oh, yehadet ego Hataahlii. It was all planted, all put together. It's alive. This earth has a heartbeat. This earth has a consciousness. It can see. It's a living entity as a female. We say Shama, it's a relative to us. And then the sky too, the universe. All these universe in the night sky, even the daytime, the sun, the moon would all be in place as a body had a pair of shoe on. These constellation stars would represent that, has a leg, a body, a heart. There was all dressed like with the clouds, rain, sun, climate, season. So it would be completely as a whole. Di nahasan Hataahlii. Yatilhilto nilya. Everything would be in place. Aroti Johona to Alia. The sun, Johona de Ado Hona to Alia. So Sae Jigo na Rago Alia. Sae Ego na Rago Alia. De to be made. Dina Johona Egi to Iji Hatat Ego. Panilia. Ado Hona Yoskei. Quaniliago pe Hataahlii. Akogo Citizen Patalia. Akogo Atalia la. Akogo Digin the make a perfect creation. To have a clear goals and objective. And when the sun was created, the sun was the one that was able to speak and talk. The sun said, Dina Hassan Bakag, there's going to be death. Oh, Nahon it only. Oh, Nail death only. Te big and the start only. Dini. hot ago ye na hotena aita ye hatzi. There's going to be death. That's going to be the yale for me to be in this universe. And then the moon comes around. Kahona an she'eshik eko o chiltol le de hana pasto le akuya atlanta ade tahne thi etselke chike hodle or chiltol. There's going to be birth of all species, no matter what. Human birth, a boy, a girl will be born. So the sun over here has a purpose, and the moon over here has a purpose. They made it to be like that. The philosophy, the teaching goes, don't let the sun see you sleeping. You got to rise before the dawn, before the sunrise, and be out there moving around, even praying, singing out there. Do some work out there. That means you want to live. You're going to strive. Because when the sun sees you sleeping, the sun says, he don't want to live. I want to take his life. So dilzun go bohol ekut ella jingo to ochil hosta jonela ado when the sun go down no hot su datilto and you can lay down to go to sleep hot ago pe has aniki it. So there are many different teaching to go with this, the sun and the moon, the calendar, night is Z, and it makes a lot of sense. So a long time ago, 200 years ago, before European came to this continent, Navajos, they used to look at the night sky, the moon, and that's how they used to follow the natural cosmic order, the natural law, traditional law, they call it. In this universe. And that's the divine. And that was the belief. They believe in the creation. They believe in this universe. They follow that. They did not follow any one person or individual or a group. They followed the natural cosmic order of life. Big echo or cheatly, big echo or no safely, big echo anahot neatly, hot. You look at that la hot ago chinesh hot la ago. Let's go on. The end the etite yatishkish. The fire god, that's how it's translated. Or we say black god. That's the English language. But in the Navajo, we say Hasheshin, that is the fire. They have the igniter. Started to move about to complete the universe and to polish all those crystals that's going to be utilized so that the sky would be perfect. The layout, like a blueprint, was clear where to place all these constellations to make their body complete. Just like in that picture right there. Lord, to make clarity on the feet, the leg, the body, even the facial colors. But all here, their crown, their hat, and what are they holding in their hand? There's got to be something holding. They need to have something in their hand, what they have to offer. Is trying to make all this effort to form these constellations to have a body for each calendar month. And that Hogan, the first man, the first woman's Hogan. The end of it was decided that there will be 4 seasons. It will be organized for all life form, for animals, vegetation, and then the summer, fall, winter, and the springtime. It's going to be all be laid out. The calendar is called Nahitizid. Nahitizid. And they're all given names. They're all 12 of them. So the moon, Nikki, that's part of the astronomy. The moon, the sun too. So for every month, let's say like Raji will be the first one. Next it's Ose, be the second one. Next it's So. Ado Yasn't is Atsapi Yaj, Wojin, Archild Artso. Benne ya ishjas, Chile ya ishjas, So. Benne and an Oze, Benne and an So. Raji, that's 12. Hot Ago. The process again. Later, when you see that first quarter, Tahiti, that's the new moon. Digi could look on the ground. Like the snow is gonna thaw out, melting of the snow. Dik at yasn is. Kaden let sidiki at sapiyaj. These eagles, they're going to lay their egg and they're going to sit on it in their nest, even though it's cold, but they're going to keep that egg to hatch. They're going to sit on there. And then not as the wash eat the egg is going to break. And here, a little tiny bird is going to crawl out of there. Other is going to open its mouth and say, hey, old, yeah, wash eat. Other the next month, but a little tiny wing. The next month, bigger wings. At the same time, you'll see small little leaves on the ground, big long leaves. At the end, it's time to plant. Ya ishas so ya ishas. At the end, and ants oze. So it's a process. But this mainstream Western culture, they say January. All we see is the first of the month payday. Valentine, February. My sweetheart, March is going to be a windy day, but it's got to be payday. Got to pay the bills. Got to go to work 8 to 5. So July 4th, Wonder Rock Fair. Out of the August, Chinley Fair. Out over here, September, Winter Rock Fair, the big fair. Out of October, Chiprock Fair. Today, that's how we look at things. We don't even look at the sky. We don't even look at the moon cycle. That ladle, it's got water in it. It's pouring that water. It's all the haitan, that means it's cold. Mat, this mat. E be eta hozeniki atat ella akot agoko. So yes, there are songs about this. All of this creation about songs. And let me share a little piece of this tune. So I guess a lot of people, they can steal songs. This is going to be the first time that this audience will hear this tune. Watch next week, 2 weeks, it's going to all be on Facebook. But there's an intellectual property here that this belongs to me. But I'm sharing it with you, just a little bit of it, just to give you a good, clear understanding about this. So it will go something like this, if you would understand it. There was a time there was no human. The ne'eten tatohne. So I lost that tune now. So it's not there. So there was a song like that called even this song don't want to come out now. So there's a list there. So is the first one. Adok Loki, the butterfly, is, you see that in the night sky. Adok the sun. Adok the bear, shush. Eat nit. Adok ish, so. Adon the ed bisoy yehe de nasta. Ado koje ya so. Ado tsata depe. Naho konspa kha. Naho konspa ad. Ado del yehe. Ado on this side hashesh jene. Ado koje na yet nezrane. Tropachish chene. They're up there in the night sky. Taji bike. Ado ma'itso. Atsa. Hastin sek'ae. Gahat gahat inni. Yikais daha. Atsa atsoze. Atsa atso. Ot agoko ya etapij latite. Dit at in the Bilta Edge song to mention all these stars and constellation. They're all upstairs, way up there in the night sky. So the best time to look at the night sky would be in December. So around about New Year, le yasnt es Tahitinko, Okogo, you go to a where there's no light pollution. You go into a dark place and stand there at 1 o'clock in the morning. Make sure you have a lot of coat on, and then you can count these stars. The whole clear night sky is going to all come alive. And there, you can see most of these ones. Some, they come from the southern hemisphere. They come from the northern hemisphere. So Naho Kos is right in the middle. It's right the center. It goes around like that. So so let Johana Hataahlii. Johana Etil Klato, Johana Hataahlii, put up there that first star, the first light. Johana Eliako, Ete Elneko, Beni Hate Edode, Ish a Benatode. What's going to be the facial? What's going to be the eye? Other Betakidats, what's going to be around that sun? And it was given to them. Hataahlii, Ahot Agogo. So dit Ago Ntasia, Ago Hataahlii. When the sun eclipse, the moon eclipse, you sing this creation song at that time, so that you bring it back to life. You sing it back to life. In Navajo, the term is Oljetas Sa Kahona Etas Sa Johona Etas Sa. So then you have to sing it back to life. You give it nourishment by taking that tadadin and singing it. They come back, because the sun is the most powerful energy in this whole universe, in this whole galaxy. The sun is it. They say the north magnetic energy. The south magnetic energy. There's a plus and there's a negative. So it's rotating all this whole universe. The sun does that. The moon Nikki circles around the earth. Big echo Yoshkar Dane Ti Hanapas Da Nahotle Shit Nahotle Neyo Ase Kahona Yaneyo Ase Johona Dang, that's intelligence. You cannot replicate that. It's genuine. And it's there. And then it's reliable. We need it. It gives us life, make things grow. All different color plants. With that light. It's valid. Anila Beina Anila Ebeninago. We have to learn to do that. As real Navajo, that's what we say.
It's 7 o'clock.
And that's where you have to understand, what is a Navajo? Are you a Navajo? you have to understand this. If you're Navajo, this is the universe that you live under, in there. The sun, the moon, the stars, astronomy. So, so it's 7 o'clock, boys and girls. But I'm going to show you another slide here. See, these are single stars up there too. They call that so. And I know a lot of times we say it's in the morning. So hayala tatitne. But really it's not a star. It's a planet. They call Venus. That morning star, yeah, is in the evening now. When the sun goes down, that light is still hitting it. When the sun goes down, that's still Venus. And the other is right there on the south side. It doesn't go down. It's the no matter what season, it's always there. It's always up in the sky. It's a star. It's a fire in the sky. Be so be edo kujita size edo sa ado so bete do hodlo ekut ela ado did Joto bahos and it's vague. It's not clear. Or it's ashane dechnila adon the echo so beko the bright star ekwadanana star somewhere. When you look at this picture, see all those million tiny stars, millions and billions and trillions of tiny fire in the night skies. These are all stars, sun. But these ones that are bright, that's the one that we count. So if you see Dilyaha, it will be Dilyaha is a lot of stars in there. But those bright ones, there will be the ones that are in the night sky. So we have to begin to understand that, there's a whole bunch of light in the night sky. But here in this galaxy, in this this Milky Way, that's where the sun is in control. The sun is taking care of all this area. So beyond that, there's many tiny stars, but this is where we live at. So I thought 7 o'clock is late. Hey, yeah. Busy next week.
Yes, yeah, he said it. Ah,
Okay.
This one right here. So we still got a long ways to go. See, Nina,
Oh,
see,
yat
Oh.
Setsile, Nijoni, Dabo Rez. Oh, next week, Anana, Kodoshi, Yadi, Iina Bihoo'aah. What ego Kodobus was Edilnish, Did, Shawet, at Did. Was not as a Taish, Mayazit, a call, Ya, Iina Bihoo'aah. It could up at the niche. As can't up enough, don't they not in Strang, Hashib enough. ARJ, ya not in Bane, Kodob Kana, in not the Dan, a content to this, Ibkana. penantin ekot ada kushi de nis ekot ela ahot apen ni ge ho ti ya ko pe ka de na ta kwe do tin do in the ekot de a here's the is do in there sat edit in Navajo do is be coach and they do ekot
Oh, yeah.
Yate, Shay, Nakaidinan, Shanto Persian bushes chin, but Ami that should do Persian duction nala, but other than that is done. Yate, Shay, Sahar Kajanor Unishia. And I'm the Media and Youth Coordinator here at the Iina Bihoo'aah program. I am so excited that you have all joined us this evening for part one of our IBP Diné Culture Camp Navajo Astronomy 101. And I'm so thankful that you all joined us here today. I know I had a couple questions in the comment section that I'm going to ask Mr. Denny. So yeah, for everybody that had asked us questions, and also here's a little surprise. So for everybody who sent us a heart emoji who liked this presentation, this evening we are entering your name in a drawing for some cool prizes. So hit the heart button and you can go ahead and share this presentation. And I'm going to go ahead and move forward, and we will make those announcements later this week. So we'll enter your name in a randomizer, and then get those likes counted. Ooh, we're blowing up. We're watching y'all here
Yep.
in our mini studio. But back to Mr. Denny. So thank you again. So yeah, Olivia asked the question: did other worlds have constellations, or just the one that we are in now? That's what he wants to know. She wants to know.
Okay, let's say that if you go to Australia, and that's the below equator, downward. So you will be upside down and you're looking downward. So there are constellations all the way around. We are at the northern hemisphere. What we see here is what we see, and that's what we live by. On the other side of the equator, down below, there's other constellations. They're totally different with different names. And the different cultures that live over there, they follow that. So there are different constellations. And if you could go out to beyond this galaxy and go into another world over there, there's still constellations over there. And they're people that, I guess their brain can think in their mind, they could create another universe in here in their mind and think that, yes, there are other constellations in other worlds. It's never ending. And just like that, last night, we just are in this whole universe, and it's just a little bitty part that we live in. Even tiny as this, the universe is overwhelming. And our universe is just this small, with the sun in the middle. And if you go farther out, our universe can be smaller and smaller, and it can disappear. But when we come back closer, then it can be bigger. So yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah. So Avery, our next question comes from Vicky Charlie, and she wants to know: does the Coyote star stay visible for all seasons? And what was the name of that one again?
The Coyote star will be in the western skies over here after the sun goes down. Like I said, the Venus will appear right around sunset. That's the first star or the first one that light up. That's Venus. And then after the sun go down, it's lit up. So there's still a lot of stories about about and all of that. So one time this whole group, 10 people were all together, and here there was a conflict. These two, they went this way. So and there are 8, this is lean. So the Coyote said, I'm not going to be part of it. So so that became 7. That 7 constellation stars, those ones became the these two, there's a conflict. It's hot that asli in later. So in this time after creation, yes, and these stars are up in the sky. You know, a long time ago, we used to sleep outside in the summertime, and when the sun goes down, and my father would have a flashlight and tell us that these deep it's easy kind of like shine the light on these stars and tell us, we used to tell the stories like that. Okay, next question.
Okay, I was inspired to research and reach out to people who had knowledge about our Diné Cosmos. And so I picked up this book called Sharing the Skies, Navajo Astronomy. Do you have any other books that you recommend? And for those viewing on Facebook, we'll be compiling a list and then also post that on our Iina Bihoo'aah program Facebook page. But Avery, do you have some things that maybe people could look up?
I don't know how to read books, so but a lot of the books that people use, I think, was David Begay, I think the Mary Boy, and then that's all I know. That's the only one I saw. So
Okay.
when David Begay was at the college and Nancy Maribor was over here, and I guess they were doing a dissertation, and they were all always listen, and I guess they were doing a research, and they took a lot of our stories and just put it in there. My brother-in-law at the time, Melvin Bainbridge, he's the one that illustrated all those pictures in there.
They're beautiful illustrations.
Yeah.
I have another question from Jonathan Hale. He says, what's the significance of celestials to help in healthy living and diagnosis for Diné people?
Yes, there's a dialogue that we use in doing maybe like crystal diagnosing, and usually is so. That's we mentioned that the first intelligent in this whole universe, the one that was here at the beginning of time, the one that sees all things evolve and how they're all structured, and the one that knows it all, the Constellation. So they're the ones that are the giver of information in this whole time. So they use songs for it to get in touch. So it can't just be anybody. It has to have a person that is sort of like ordained, and by clan too. They have to already have that innate or embedded into their clan, so that they could make that contact with their psychic, their understand, and their vision to diagnose and to see the universe. And they would be like almost like psychic in some way or another to understand that spiritually. That's what they call it.
Okay, last question, and I'm so sorry, and I think we'll carry over some of these questions for our next workshop, and we'll have information for that link for our next presentation coming up soon. But last one, I had a couple comments of Lean Lenny Batsui says, does Dr. Avery think the star song wants to be protected? If that's why he couldn't share it, and I think that was something that you had answered. Shaniwa Rose DeHozy asked, did we use the constellations to travel?
Yes, put it on your door and draw it on your door, and you can put it on your windshield and do travel. Of course, yeah. Like I said, like there's here on the Earth surface, there's a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of change that occurs all the time. But up there in the night sky, if you see the constellation, the stars, they are always at the right place. Yes, other planetarian, they move. But as far as the constellation is concerned, they're always at the same place all the years and all the time. And so they naho konsiki, the male and female revolving. That's the first indicator of the north. Naho konspiya. Naho konspiya. That's how they know which direction it is. Naho kons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So next Wednesday, Nana Shido. Oh.
Can we make that on Thursday next week?
Okay, Thursday. 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 Biga.
Thursday, go ahead. Or Wednesday night, I have a class. This class right here.
Yeah.
So it was a pleasure and honor, and I hope I deliver this, because switching back and forth Navajo and English kind of makes it very difficult. So I tried at the neck actually I tried, but we'll try to do our best again to go across that information of the stars and constellation. Did you guys know that at the January last week, every other year, when during the daytime, when the sun rises, the moon would be sitting right there on a full moon. The moon and the sun would rise at the same time, a full moon. And inside that moon would be a little lamb. That one, there would be freezing in the daylight. The water, the ground, everything would freeze. Although that night, 2 o'clock in the morning, if you were to go out and saw this Milky Way, it would be all flat. The way we see it is always, which way am I going? Always this way. It's circled like a hoop this way. We're looking into that. But on January 14th and the 21st, the Milky Way would be flat like this, on right there, the east, south, west, and north. Flats. Then you could see those constellations all standing upright. So a lot of people don't realize, and that they don't know it is the way sometimes you have to begin to understand that. And I used to have a Anglo friend. His name was Charles. Worked over here at the college, and me and him, we used to get together with some students, and we take out a telescope outside, and on a freezing night, one time or 2 times, we look at the moon and stars, and we used to do that here. 1 year or 2 years. But that's my informant too. Informant. Okay,
Okay.
And thank you all for tuning in. The Iina Bihoo'aah program is dedicated to improving emotional and behavioral health of our teens and young adults. Here in the Utah Navajo region, we're also partnered with the White Mesa Ute Mountain Ute community. So we are here to help through counseling, case management, and cultural knowledge, because all of those things are very important to creating whole identity. So yeah, everybody for tuning in. We'll see you all, I think, next week.
Thursday.
Mhm.
Next week, Thursday.
Next Thursday at 6 o'clock.
Awesome.
Same station.